This is a bittersweet moment for Loretta, for myself, and for our union. 3 years ago, I called Fran Lawrence and I said, yes, I know you're about to retire. I know you're about to change your life, but would you like to do something first? And she kind of said, what? She had no idea what I was going to ask her to consider. And Toni Cortese had just told us that she was going to retire from being the union's executive vice president. And let's hear it for Toni Cortese. Let's hear it again for our officers emeriti, Nat and Ed and Toni. And Ed and Nat were here, by the way, the entire convention, and they have just been invaluable in terms of giving us lots and lots of advice and shoulders to lean on, which is what is part of the tradition of our union. We learn from each other. So I do want to just say one more time, thank you to Ed McElroy, our former president, Nat LaCour, and now to Fran Lawrence. And Fran, when I said, how about serving as the union's interim executive vice president? I don't know how long, but what about stepping in before you retire? And she actually thought about it for a little while, which I thought was really terrific. And then she called me back and she said, if it's really going to be meaningful, I really want to do it. And that's Fran's character. I'm getting this story right? I mean, I think I remembered it right. Fran has spent more than 4 decades working on behalf of educators, public education, and specifically children. Fran and Dal, her husband, charted a course of professionalization for educators and for teachers long before it was in vogue to do. As a public school teacher, Fran was dynamic and compassionate. As a local president, she never shied away from a challenge. As the executive vice president of our union, I think she's clocked almost as many miles as we have, Loretta, on the road to both fighting back and being shoulder to shoulder with our members and creating with this amazing energy she has that's kind of captured by that bright smile, the kind of cheerleading that so many of us need sometimes when we're down. She's been willing to serve in any and every role that both Loretta and I have asked her to do, and anything that the members have asked her to do. She also has been an incredible advocate in terms of our staff and our divisions, making sure, as you can see at this convention, that every division has a real voice. And she has made that her work at the union to make sure that public services, higher education, healthcare and nurses and other healthcare, and PSRPs, early childhood, retirees, have the kind of voice that K-12 has traditionally had in this union. So there's really no words that can capture the life and the activism of someone who has spent their adult life working on behalf of others. I don't know what words can capture the level of appreciation, Fran, that we have for you collectively and I have for you individually. You're not just a friend and a sister. You're not just a colleague. You are the epitome of what our union is about. So Fran's not going far. Her leadership has been recognized by the representatives of the 18 National Educational Associations of the Learning First Alliance, and she will chair that alliance. She will be the first AFT person who has chaired it. But we want to give you, as an AFT, just token of our appreciation, the lifetime membership to the AFT, to the union you have devoted your lifetime to.
I better bring that Kleenex with me. It's quite special. Oh, here's another one. When I was thinking about, what to say today, my mind took me back to the day I started teaching in Toledo in 1969. And believe it or not, during my first week, I had to call the union office and say, how do I join the union? How do I join Local 250, the Toledo Federation of Teachers? And what might be hard to imagine, looking at me today, I had been somewhat radicalized in college. I'd been to Woodstock. I protested the war at the Pentagon and in the heart of the District of Columbia. So to me, the union was, now that I was starting my career, a way to protest and to advocate for a more just society. So that first fall, I was in the teacher's lounge. I found myself defending the then TFT president's editorial in support of student rights, and it wasn't too popular with the teachers in the lounge. So I thought I better head to a TFT membership meeting that first fall, and I went and I spoke up for student rights and have continued to do so through today. But obviously at that point, I hadn't found out that teachers didn't have any rights either. But I learned that quickly. So that's how my journey as a union activist began, and I never imagined where that journey would take me. From the classroom to local union activist to local union leader, and now to Executive Vice President of the American Federation of Teachers that I love. Fighting on behalf of teachers, PSRP, students, public education, and now in this role, as Randy mentioned, also advocating for higher education, public services, nurses and health professionals, and our retirees and all those we serve. So what I'm going to say now, I'm going to use the reference teachers, but this applies to all of our constituencies. Throughout my work, I fought for teacher rights and teacher responsibilities. Used collective bargaining to build a genuine profession for teachers, more effective schools for our students, a profession based on high standards and excellence. And I firmly believe that the foundation of a profession is that the professionals themselves establish standards of practice and monitor and enforce them. And that's why peer support and peer review are fundamental to a real teaching profession. So I've been about elevating the voice of teachers, empowering our members at the workplace and in the community, building union leadership at every school that the principal has to pay attention to and collaborate with, positioning our members with a seat at the table, partners in decision-making. And teachers are the experts in teaching and learning. They are the instructional leaders, not those who don't teach. In my capacity as Executive Vice President, I've always thought of myself as an advocate for our local unions. And as was the case as a local leader, the best days have been out in the field with you and many of our members and those we serve. So from Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, Maryland, DC and Pennsylvania, to Illinois, Minnesota, Washington, Oregon and California, Texas, Florida, and the Virgin Islands. I could spend hours upon hours talking from the road, about what we shared. So I am a union woman through and through. I'll never stop being a fierce advocate for students, educators, and public education, for quality public services and healthcare. And I have tremendous confidence, I really do, in the next generation of leaders in our union. They will ensure our continued relevance and success. Each generation has a mountain to climb. Each generation pushes the starting line nearer to the goal. Equality, equity, and opportunity to succeed and excel. So I am glad I am a teacher. I'm glad I found my success in teaching children. And I remember when I began, I had to call the union, as I told you, I had to call the union office, how do I join? Well, I followed up a few weeks later and called again. I said, I'd like to meet with the president. I have questions, a lot of them, about TFT, AFT, AFL-CIO. So we met. Well, 45 years later, he continues to answer my questions. So now it's time to reclaim my husband. And we will now move on to our next chapter. So I've been honored to serve as EVP under the leadership of Randy Weingarten. She has taken us to new heights. You know, she wakes up every morning, if she ever goes to sleep, thinking about how we can improve the lives of our members, the people they serve, and the communities in which they live. And while she never shies away from a fight, she is determined to find solutions that will move our profession and our union forward. After all, we are a union of professionals. So thank you, Randy, for the opportunity to join you on part of this journey. And I have been privileged, Randy and Loretta, to be part of your team. Thank you, delegates, for your confidence and the opportunity to serve. And while I pass the baton to the next generation of leaders, I won't ever stop being an educator, an activist, a trade unionist. I will continue to stand with you to fight back and fight forward, and together, I know that we will reclaim the promise of America. Carry on.
I've noticed in this convention, we're fighting back, we're fighting forward, we're moving forward, and we're reclaiming a whole lot of things, including our spouses.